So, basically, I live in New Orleans, and one of the best public high schools in New Orleans is called Lusher, and I had to write 10 pages of creative work for the creative writing program that I'm about to go into next year. This is a horror story that I wrote for that. I was hoping you guys would like it, and maybe you guys could be my editors. So if you notice any plot holes or anything that you might want to be changed, just tell me. Also, the story, it's a horror story. It involves cannibalism. So if any of those things trigger you, or if you're extremely susceptible to fear and nightmares and stuff, then I wouldn't recommend this. I mean, it's not a particularly good horror story, but it is a horror story, and it is, I don't know, not to my own horn, but I'm pretty sure it's relatively good. So we're just gonna get started. Let me in. Midnight, November 20th, 1999, the Stryker household. The night outside the Stryker residence lies dark in silence. Even the stars seem to have abandoned their posts in the sky, to have turned their glimmering faces away for the moment to observe some other trivial event. Also, yeah, I stutter all the time, so yeah. Young Alice Stryker, a girl of only 5, awakens with a start. Here we see where the stars have traveled to, the ceiling above her head, where they are nothing more than white paint on a black background. Alice's eyes skip over the makeshift suns and wander towards a window, outside which lies the heavy, cool night. Alice stumbles to the window, rubbing her eyes as she gazes out into the forest outside her home in the woods near Lake Superior. A light breeze stirs the branches of the trees, their shadows reaching towards the home like black arms extending for an embrace, and wait, what was that? A shadow skimming through the trees like a smooth stone across the surface of a lake, almost too quick to even be noticed, but there! Again! This time it's closer, inside the broad circular field surrounding her house. The shadow skims back and forth, until it finally stops about 20 feet from the house. By the light of the pale silver moon that refuses to abandon his place in the sky, she can just make out the shape of a shadow. A woman, very tall, at least 8 feet tall. Most of it in her legs, emaciated, with long thin hair, and arms that seem too long for her body, stretching almost to her knees. Her face is obscured by shadow, but Alice can tell she is looking directly in your eyes. "Hello? Are you okay?" Alice calls, straining her eyes to try and make out the woman's face. The woman doesn't respond. She just stands there, looking up at her, transfixed. "Aren't you cold out there?" she asks the woman, leaning out the window slightly to feel the cold November air on her cheeks. "Yes," whispers the woman, stepping closer to the house. The security lights come on, and for a moment Alice is blinded, but when she sees again, she wishes she couldn't. I have to edit that. See, this is actually how I usually edit my stories. I read them to someone, and I notice the mistakes myself, but again, I do want you guys to point out anything you notice. The woman's skin is grayish, wrinkled, and peeling off. Her hair is brown and straggly. Straggly? That's not the word I wanted. Her hair is brown and thin, with bald spots everywhere. Her nose is virtually gone, leaving only 2 long slits for nostrils. Her mouth is lipless, cracked, and wide, stretching all the way across her face. The arms are indeed too long, as are her legs, which are longer than the rest of her put together. Also, is this supposed to be a comma there? Just asking. Her arms and legs end in withered, cracked hands and feet, and her right hand is missing a finger or two. But none of these things so much as catch Alice's eyes. But Alice sees, all Alice sees, are the eyes. The woman's eyes are sunken, black, and glassy, and in them Alice feels she can see another world. The woman's mouth opens. Her tongue is long and pointed, and her teeth are sharp as daggers. The wind howls in Alice's ears, louder and louder, so loud she can barely hear the woman whisper, in a voice like rustling leaves. Let me in! I call you. Midnight, November 20th, 1399, the Algonquin village. Little Sokanon can't sleep. The rain pounds the roof of the wigwam she shares with her mother, Nadi. She creeps out into the storm. She always loved the rain, and taking a walk in it always seemed to soothe her mind. She walks out to the clearing in the forest they call Wendigo Circle. The Algonquin tribal elders said it had been there when they were born. They had been there since, before there was an Algonquin tribe. I'm really bad. They told all the little boys and girls of the tribe never to approach Wendigo Circle. But Sokanon can't help herself. The clearing seems to call to her, bringing a soothing relaxation to her mind. She sloshes to the middle of the clearing, lies down, and lets the calm wash over her with the rain. Shh, whispers the rain. Shh, crack. Sokanon's eyes fly open. What was that? She sits up. Crack! Coming from behind her this time. She turns. No one's there. Crack! Crack! Behind her again. She turns around just in time to see a blur of shadow rush through the trees. Crack! Behind her. Elsie! To her left. Crack! Crack! In front, getting louder and louder. Sokanon runs from the clearing, the wind howling her name. Sokanon! She hears. Sokanon! Sokanon! Sokanon closes her eyes against the rain, hoping to shut out the voice as well as she races towards the wigwams. Ow! Sokanon runs straight into her mother. Sokanon! Her mother cries. Where have you been? I woke up and you were gone! Oh, mother! Sokanon sobs, burying her face into her mother's robe. I went out into Wendigo Circle and... What? You went to Wendigo Circle? Soka, you know the elders said never to go to Wendigo Circle. Ever! Why were you even out there? I couldn't sleep. There was a shape, Mama, a shadow, in the trees. It was faster than I could see. Oh, no, mumbled Nadine. Oh, no, no. Back in the safety of their wigwam in the village, Nadine tells Sokanon a story. Once, long ago, she whispers. Little Sokanon in her lap. There was a man called Askuitu, and his job was to watch over the tribe. At night, he walked around the border of the village, and he kept watch for bears and wildcats and raccoons and things like that, to make sure they couldn't sneak into the village. Now, Askuitu loved the stars, and every once in a while, when he was keeping watch, walking around and around the village, he would stop and sit on the ground and gaze up at the stars, for they were the most beautiful things in the world to him. Now when Askuitu was a little boy, the elders told him, just as they told you, to never, ever go into Wendigo Circle, and even as a grown man, he obeyed the law. But one night, while he was on his watch, he heard a loud rustling coming from Wendigo Circle. Well, he thought, there must be a bear, or a great big wildcat or something to be making such a racket. And he went to go see, but it was no bear or wildcat making a noise in Wendigo Circle. And when Askuitu burst into the clearing, all he found was a body. It was a man, no older than Askuitu himself, with a hole in his chest as big as my hand. And while Askuitu was examining the body, a Wendigo crept up behind him. Mama, whispered Sokanon. What's a Wendigo? A Wendigo, little one, is a monster that was once a man. A person becomes a Wendigo when they eat another person. Wendigo looks like a dead man that can walk. It's very fast, so fast you can't see it, and you must never, ever let one get close to you. Now, back to the story. The Wendigo crept up behind Askuitu and whispered in his ear. Eat, it said. You are hungry. Eat. And it whispered in Askuitu's ear until he fell into a trance and was under the Wendigo's control. And Askuitu ate. He ate and ate until he became a Wendigo. That shadow out there, that was Askuitu. He's been calling you because he wants you to join him. Why does he want me, Mama? Asked Sokonon. Her mother replies, tears welling up in her eyes. Because he's your father. Midnight, December 9th, 1999, Striker household. Alice gazes out the window at the woman, and the woman gazes back at her. Midnight, December 9th, 1999, Striker household. Alice gazes out the window at the woman, and the woman gazes back at her. She's been doing this every night for a few weeks now. The woman's eyes give her a strange feeling, like she's submerged in cold water but can still breathe. She has become addicted to it, and the woman knows it, for she comes to the window every night at midnight with a broad, cracked-lipped smile and a beckoning look in her glassy black eyes. At dawn, her father, Adam, enters the room. He doesn't usually do that, thinks Alice, turning around to face him. Alice, he says, with a look of fatherly concern, why are you at the window? It's nothing, Daddy, she answers, her voice almost robotic. It's nothing, really. Okay, he replies, still concerned. Well, it's time to start packing for the camping trip. For the camping trip. Camping trip. I can't wait, Alice says, a broad smile crossing her face, the glimmer of black in her eyes. 7 p.m., December 9th, 1999, Broken Cross Campground. Well, we're here, announces Alice's father as they pull up to the campground. Alice hops out first, rushing away from the car as her parents unpack the tent. She stops suddenly, staring at a spot on the ground. She reaches down and begins to dig. Then, as suddenly as she began, she stops, picks an object out of the hole, staring at it, transfixed. Her dad walks over to her, asking, What have you found there? He bends down on one knee, looking at her hand. Oh, wow! He exclaims. Honey, come look! Alice has found a little doll! 7 p.m., December 9th, 1599, Algonquin Village. The doll swings back and forth in Sokonon's hand as she walks back to the village. She has been out walking again, but not to Wendigo Circle. After Mother's story, she can't even look at the place without feeling sick. What kind of person could eat another person? She approaches the wigwam skipping, but stops, mouth agape, as she sees the body in the doorway. She drops the doll in shock. She drops the doll in shock, and it rolls into a rabbit burrow next to her. She creeps up to the body and turns it over, and her mouth widens even further. Her mother lies still in the pale moonlight, blood dripping from the hole in her chest as big as her hand. Sokonon takes one stumbling step back from the corpse, then another, and bumps right into him. Askuitu, or rather, the thing that is no longer Askuitu, stands pale gray against the blue-black of the sky, staring down at Sokonon, his black eyes glinting, his giant mouth grinning in delight. My daughter, he rasps, kneeling down from his 6-foot-tall standing position until he can look straight into her glistening fearful eyes. My, I have much to teach you. He grasps her shoulder. She shudders. Her hands are as cold as ice, his fingers as sharp as knives as they press themselves into her soft, light brown skin. He turns her slowly around to face the body of her mother. Flies have already begun to gather around her, hungry for the flesh. But first, you are hungry, he says, whispering directly into Sokonon's ear, his grin widening even further. Eat. Sokonon feels herself bending down until her face touches her mother's body. She can't stop herself. Her mouth opens. Yes, whispers the thing that is no longer asking me to. Oh. Sokonon can feel her skin beginning to wrinkle, her limbs beginning to grow, and she still cannot she still cannot stop eating. She barely manages to get enough control between bites of her mother's arm to whisper, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, Mother. Midnight, December 10th, 1999, Broken Cross Campground. Adam Strider wakes up, cold sweat running down his face, heart pounding, his nightmare disappearing like the fog in the window. Leaves crunch outside. Footsteps? Who's there? He calls out, fumbling about in search of a flashlight. Danny? His daughter calls. Her shadow is a silhouette on the... Sorry, I just have to... Yeah, I'll do it later. Danny? His daughter calls. Her shadow is silhouette on the mesh window of the tent. Alice, honey, what on earth are you doing up? Inquires Adam, giving up on the flashlight to instead peer out the window. He can't see much with only the moonlight to guide him, but he could swear there's someone behind Alice. Someone tall. I'm cold, Danny, Alice calls into the tent, her voice pleading in an almost too sweet sort of way. Let me in. So that was Let Me In. Like I said, I wrote this for my for next year's writing class. And if you guys have any comments about it, anything you want me to add, take away, anything just really anything anything you want to say about it, please put that down in the comments. Thank you all for listening to my unbearable stuttering, and that's about it. Goodbye.